Hi there, it's Allan here from Glasgow, and I'm delighted to be introducing Chris Keeling.
Good morning.
From Naim Audio, who's going to tell us a little bit about the new Classic 300 series from Naim. Over to you, Chris. Can you give us a little background on Naim first?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me first. So, as you might know, it's Naim's 50th anniversary this year, and to celebrate that, we've released quite a lot of new products. We started off in January with the 200 series with an integrated streamer preamplifier and a power amplifier as well. And in the last couple of months, we've now released the 300 series as well to complete the lineup. And what this comprises of is a streamer, a preamplifier, an upgrade power supply, and also monoblock power amplifier, which is the most powerful power amplifier that we've ever made. Naim, we've got a long history, so we make everything in Salisbury in the UK, with the exception of our all-in-one loudspeakers, which are made elsewhere. But we're very, very proud of the fact that we can still service our very first amplifiers that we made 50 years ago. We were founded by a great guy called Julian Verica, who essentially didn't like the sound of the amplifiers that were available at the time, had made some amplifiers commercially for Capital Radio, and out of that, another hi-fi manufacturer, which is Lin, kind of went, well, these are great sounding things, we think you could actually sell these to the domestic market. And Naim Audio Limited was born, and we retain the same design ethos 50 years later. And we try and avoid talking about things in conventional hi-fi terms. We don't listen for bass or treble. This is about having fun, and hopefully as you spend more money on a Naim system, what you get is more musical enjoyment, and this latest range is kind of the epitome of that.
Okay, so the first one in the range is really going to be the streamer. So for those that don't know, what is a streamer?
So a streamer is really the starting point of your system, if you're listening to digital music.
So by digital music, so you're talking about some of the streaming sites? That's
right. So
Cobuzz, Tidal, these kind of...
Absolutely. Absolutely. As people have migrated away from CD players, they're using digital music services to access their music now.
So that's a subscription-based thing?
Correct.
Essentially, so this connects to your router in the house, and really through that, you can then access.
That's correct. Yeah.
And control of this is via...
Control of this is either via a remote control, or realistically, most people will use this using their smartphone, or maybe some kind of tablet device, iPad.
And is there apps available for both the iOS and the Android platform?
Correct. Yep, there is. Really easy to operate. So when you access your music, you just search for whatever it is you want to listen to. And if you've got that stored on some kind of hard drive device that's your own music that you own, then that will come up. But as well, it will also search through whatever streaming services that you want to subscribe to. And
so you obviously do a couple of streamers within the range. Where does this fit, and what's kind of special about it?
So this is the new kid on the block, and
so this is the NS3.
This is the NS333, and this is the mid-range streamer that we offer. We do offer one above this, but what's special about this is the fact that we can upgrade it. It sounds great on its own, but we also make upgrades for these things, and something that Naim's really passionate about is backwards compatibility, but also forwards compatibility, so that you don't buy a box and then have nowhere to go, and if you want to upgrade, you then have to sell it, lose a bunch of money, buy something new. Obviously it's absolutely great on its own, but if you add the upgrade, it's just a question of adding the next thing. We try and make it as easy for you as possible.
So that's essentially this unit here, which is the NPX 300.
Yeah.
So what does that do?
What the NPX 300 does is it splits. There are two cables that run from it, and it splits the analog power supply from the digital power supply. And how does that benefit your music? Effectively, it lowers noise. So you get a quieter background, which, okay, in and of itself, that's a good thing, but it allows more dynamics in the music to come through. So those fine details, the little ghost notes that the drummer plays that you otherwise might not hear, it'll lay those kind of there for you to hear a lot more easily.
So the NSC 333 is your kind of base level, and then you would add on the NPX 300.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So what else do we have here?
So the next thing really, and any preamplifier really is the heart of your hi-fi system. And that's this, which is the NAC 332. Now, this is a huge piece of work for us because we've made a very big change in the way that we do things, and this uses something that we developed for our statement preamplifier. So as you might know, we make an amplifier that costs a huge amount of money, is the size of a fridge.
Cost for a supercar, really?
Absolutely, it's the cost of a supercar. And what we've done is we've trickled down from that quite a lot of technology directly into the preamplifier. The first bit of which is a thing called a stepped resistor ladder. So most preamplifiers, since time immemorial, use a thing called a potentiometer to change the volume. And they're great, they sound good, but they're quite old devices, and effectively we've got a better way of doing things here. And what that gives you is much closer tolerances. So you can adjust the volume more precisely. Any channel balance issues. So on an old potentiometer, when you get to very low volumes, you can kind of hear one channel go a bit quiet relative to the other, and this completely gets rid of that. So
any other kind of technology within the preamp? Is there quite? I know you guys have always believed in kind of isolation.
Absolutely.
From, airborne interference and vibration and so on.
Very much so, yeah.
So is there anything special about the preamplifier in that way?
Yep, so in terms of that mechanical isolation, a lot of that is built into the socketry at the back and the way that we plug cables into the back of it. As you turn your hi-fi system up, no one buys these systems to play them quietly.
Right.
There's a lot of vibration in the room.
Yeah.
And we try and avoid vibration passing back into the circuit board via the cables plugged in at the back. So we actually add mechanical isolation to the socketry on the back. Yeah, the sockets, etc., are decoupled. And again, power supplies are super important here. So this is actually the first Naim preamplifier that's ever had its own inbuilt power supply. Our previous products, you always needed to buy an add-on in order to make the preamplifier work. This doesn't do that. There's a transformer inbuilt, and we separate out lots of the different sections of the preamplifier. Have their own isolated power supplies as far as possible, and then going back to the upgrade idea that we allow with Naim Audio, the same power supply that you can upgrade the streamer with, you can also add one to the preamplifier as well. And again, that gives the circuitry within the preamplifier a much more cosseted environment, really, in order to do its thing.
You're trying to drop the noise
again. Lower noise floor, much more precision. What you get is more detail, and you hear more of the musician's intent and more of what they put on that record.
I've also noticed with the casework as well, casework seems to be a lot more mechanically dead.
It is, absolutely.
And obviously the aluminium construction helps with things like eddy currents and, some
very much so. So
interference that can be the product as well.
Yeah, there is, the industrial design of this is completely new. It kind of nods towards some existing lower end products that we have in the range, the Naim Unity range. But you're right, this top plate is incredibly dead, and that's due to the three-part construction. Because again, vibration, a loud room, that can pass from the casework back into the circuit board, and what that does is blur musical detail. We don't want that.
So you get microphony and you get
absolutely issues. Yeah. And you talk about eddy currents. We go as far as on the amplifiers, we actually put slits in the back between the speaker output terminals, which disrupt any kind of eddy currents, which again interfere with the, if you like, the direct connection between the power amplifier and the loudspeaker, and can actually take a little bit of energy away from the music. A name system's really about speed and directness, and the ability that when the music needs to grow, the system responds instantly instead of kind of lagging behind.
Okay, and then the final link in the chain, I guess, is the power amp.
That's right. Yeah. So we're really proud of this. This is the NAT 350. Looks just like the power supply, so I could be pointing at that. And aside from the statement power amplifier, the kind of supercar priced amplifier that we make, this is the most powerful amplifier we've ever made. And it's a real step change for us. We've made big power amps for a very long time. And this really nods back to a product we made, how long ago was the NAT 350? It was NAT 135.
That was a V5, so that's going to be what, early 90s?
25 years ago at least, isn't it? At least. So this is the first monoblock we've made since then. And what's special about it is you get one power supply per channel. Now that's the same for every monoblock, of course. But by having inside the box, the power supply is incredibly close to the output transistors. So when the output transistors need to respond quickly, then there's a huge amount of current on tap very, very quickly. So the music responds instantly. And they're just a superb bit of kit.
Okay. That's great, Chris.
Thank you. My pleasure.